I didn't sleep for days. Every time I closed my eyes, the images played back in my head like a cruel film reel. Her laugh, her voice, her happiness in those videos. It wasn't just betrayal, it was like I had been replaced, erased even. I kept replaying the past 20 years in my mind. Our anniversary dinners, the family vacations, the quiet evenings on the couch. Were those moments real? Or was she acting all along? That question gnawed at me until I started doubting every memory we'd built together. I went through her phone, her emails, her travel receipts. I told myself I was looking for clarity, but the truth is, I was hoping, desperately hoping, that I was wrong, that maybe what I saw had an explanation. But everything pointed the same way. The trips she said were work trips lined up perfectly with the hotel backgrounds in those videos. The late meetings were nights with him. And the man? I didn't know his name, but I could see enough in the videos to know he wasn't a stranger. She was comfortable with him, familiar. The way she responded to him, the way they laughed together, it wasn't new. This was practiced, rehearsed. They had been doing this for a while. That realization crushed me more than anything. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a one time lapse of judgment. It was a double life. I thought about confronting her immediately, but she was still away at her mother's. So I had time, too much time. I sat alone in that house, surrounded by the ghosts of our life together, trying to decide if I wanted answers or if answers would only deepen the wound. I went back and forth between rage and heartbreak. One moment I wanted to scream, to call her, to demand the truth. The next I felt numb, staring at the wall, unable to believe this was my reality. At one point, I pulled out our old wedding album. I looked at her face on that day, radiant, smiling, full of promise. I looked at the vows we wrote, handwritten in ink that has faded over time. She had promised loyalty, love, faithfulness, and I had believed every word. Now, those words felt like lies written in stone. The hardest part, though, was thinking about our kids. They're grown now, off at college, but what would this do to them? How do you tell your children that their mother, the woman they look up to, has been living a double life? Would they hate her? Would they hate me for walking away? I don't know. I tried to imagine the confrontation. What would I say? Would I show her the evidence? Would I ask her why? And even if she told me, what answer could possibly make this right? Because it wasn't just the physical betrayal, it was the emotional one. The joy, the passion, the energy she gave to him, things she never gave to me. That was the deepest cut of all. And so I sat there waiting for her return, my mind spiraling, my heart shattered, my soul empty, knowing that when she walked back into that door, nothing would ever be the same again. When she finally came home from her mother's, I was waiting. I didn't greet her at the door. I didn't hug her or take her bags. I just sat at the kitchen table, staring at the evidence I had collected. My laptop was open. One of the videos paused on the screen. She walked in, smiling like everything was normal. "Hey," she said, "you won't believe how much Mom talked my ear off." I'm exhausted. She kissed me on the cheek as if nothing had happened, as if my world hadn't collapsed in her absence. I didn't respond. My silence made her pause. She frowned, noticing the laptop. "What's this?" she asked, her voice already trembling. I turned the screen toward her. Her face drained of color instantly. She didn't even try to deny it. She gasped, covered her mouth, and whispered, "Oh my God." I wanted to shout, to scream, to let all the rage pour out of me, but instead my voice was calm, almost too calm. "How long?" I asked. She stared at me, tears welling up. "Please, don't do this right now." "How long?" I repeated, my voice sharp this time. She broke. "5 months," she whispered, "since I started the new job. 5 months. Half a year of lies, half a year of her leaving this house, pretending it was work, when really she was building a new life with someone else. I slammed my hand on the table. Why him? Why all of this? You told me no for 20 years. No to oral, no to bondage, no to being adventurous. You told me you didn't like any of it, and then I see you begging for it, smiling, loving it. Who are you? She sobbed, covering her face. I don't know. I just. I felt alive with him. He made me feel things I didn't know I needed. I didn't mean to hurt you. Didn't mean to hurt me. Every second of those videos was a knife in my chest. She had chosen over and over again to give her best self to someone else while leaving me with scraps. Did you ever love me? I asked quietly. She looked up, her eyes red and swollen. Of course I loved you. I still do, I shook my head. No, you loved the life I gave you, the house, the stability, the years of loyalty. But me, you never gave me what you gave him. Not once. You saved it all for a stranger. Silence filled the room. She tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled away. Her touch felt foreign now, tainted. For a moment, I thought about all the ways this could go. We could try counseling, we could try forgiveness. But then I remembered her face in those videos. The joy, the passion. That wasn't a woman trapped in regret. That was a woman living her truth. And I realized, as painful as it was, that nothing she said could change what I had seen. Nothing could erase the betrayal etched into my memory. So I stood up, walked past her, and said only one thing: we're done. Her sobs echoed through the house as I grabbed my keys and walked out the door. When I walked out that night, I didn't know where to go. I just drove. The streets were quiet, and the glow of the streetlights blurred through my tears. I pulled into an empty parking lot and sat there for hours, gripping the steering wheel, trying to catch my breath. My hands shook so badly that I could barely hold my phone. I thought about calling someone, but who? Who do you call when your entire life just shattered? I ended up in a cheap motel on the edge of town. The room smelled like stale smoke, the wallpaper peeling, the mattress sagging in the middle. But it didn't matter. It was a place to collapse, and that was all I needed. I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about the 20 years I had given her. 20 years of loyalty, of sacrifice, of building a life together, all reduced to rubble by a handful of months with another man. The next morning, I stared at myself in the mirror. The reflection was unrecognizable. My eyes were bloodshot, my face pale. I looked like a ghost, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly old. Betrayal doesn't just wound your heart, it ages your soul. I knew I couldn't hide it forever. Our kids would notice, friends would ask questions. So I called my daughter first. My voice broke before I could even get the words out. Your mother, she hasn't been faithful. There was silence on the other end, then a shaky, Dad, are you sure? I told her I had proof. She cried, and I felt like I had taken away a piece of her childhood. My son's reaction was different. He got angry. How could she do that to you? To us? I didn't have an answer. I still don't. All I could tell him was that sometimes people aren't who we think they are. Sometimes the mask slips, and the truth is uglier than we could ever imagine. The hardest part was knowing they would never look at their mother the same way again. No matter how I tried to soften it, the truth cut them as deeply as it cut me. Then came the conversations with friends. Some offered sympathy, others avoided me, unsure of what to say. I noticed a few looked away, uncomfortable, as if they had known or suspected something. That burned almost as much as the betrayal itself, realizing that others might have seen cracks that I refused to acknowledge. The days blurred together. Work became impossible. Food lost its taste. Nights were endless. I lay awake hearing echoes of her laughter from those videos, the sound looping in my head like a cruel taunt. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face lit up with joy, but not joy for me, for him. Anger consumed me, not just at her, but at myself. How could I have missed it? How could I have lived beside a stranger for 20 years and never seen the truth? I replayed our marriage like a film reel, searching for clues. The anniversary dinners where she seemed distracted, the vacations where she spent too much time on her phone, the work trips that lasted longer than they should have. Were those signs? Or was I inventing them now to make sense of the senseless? I went for an STI panel, the most humiliating appointment of my life. Sitting in that sterile room, answering questions from a doctor half my age, I felt stripped of all dignity. Not only had she betrayed me emotionally, but she had put my health at risk without a second thought. The results came back clean, but the damage was already done. And yet, somewhere in the middle of all this darkness, a strange clarity began to emerge. I realized that her actions were not a reflection of my worth. I had given everything I had: loyalty, love, stability. She had chosen to throw it away. That choice was hers, not mine. For years I thought her lack of passion was about me, that maybe I wasn't exciting enough, not daring enough. But watching those videos, I understood. It wasn't about me at all. It was about her. She wanted something different, something reckless, something that risked everything. The betrayal still cut deep, but slowly I stopped blaming myself. I started small, taking walks, calling old friends, spending time with my kids. I found strength in their support, even as they wrestled with their own hurt. My daughter told me one evening, "Dad, you deserve better. Don't let this break you." My son simply said, "We're with you." Those words meant more than anything. Weeks passed, and though the pain didn't vanish, it dulled. I learned to live with the hole in my chest. I learned to breathe again. And one morning, as the sun rose outside that shabby motel window, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: relief. Relief that I had walked away. Relief that I didn't have to live in lies anymore. Because sometimes the bravest thing a man can do is not fight for what's broken, but walk away with his dignity intact. To the men listening, betrayal can happen to anyone. You can spend decades believing you know someone, only to find out you never did. But her choices don't define you. You are more than her lies. You are more